Hello and welcome to Turning Lewks, a makeup and beauty podcast. I am your host, Darren, and welcome back to this month's episode. This month we have an amazing guest who has already been on. We've got Tom back, and we have a great chat about controversial makeup and beauty opinions and thoughts and conspiracy ideas. This is going to be another two-parter chat. So we've got one this month, one next month. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into it.
If you only want to review stuff in PR and you won't spend your money on it, if you are a content creator who does reviews, then you don't really want to review that thing.
Yeah.
That's it. That's period. End of story. I am not concerned about whose PR list I might float in and on. Every time I get added to one, I'm like, what a surprise. And sometimes I get PR from them ever again, and it's fine. That's great. I love it. It's part of the cycle. If I'm not making them money and that they don't see value in sending me their stuff, that's what's whatever. It's just how this works, honestly.
Truly. I also find that people that only review and talk about things that they get sent, it's just like, well, you're not like most of your viewers, so what are we getting from that as
Yeah,
well?
there's no buy-in for the people who are watching. Like you didn't spend money on that. And I think also a lot of larger content creators, they are operating at a place where spending $125 on a Pat McGrath palette doesn't mean the same thing as it does to someone who is just working every day and like has to pay out of their pocket for it, you know?
But that's why we love like the smaller influencers, the micro influencers, right?
Yeah, the thing it's a vicious cycle because those people want to grow, and then when they do grow, everyone's like, "Well, I can't believe that you're here now." It's like, well,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know what you want from me at this point. It's fine.
Just grab it while you can while at your top because you know in the amount of time it's going to be dragged back down again anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Just start your own brand once you get to that point you can, and then run away as soon as it. Just don't name it after yourself, so when you sell it, it can carry on.
Abs That is the smart thing. I think if you're gonna start a makeup brand, don't name it after yourself. Don't make yourself the brand identity. Just make yourself like chief directive officer or something like that. Don't make it's not all about you, it's about the makeup. Because then you can step down and still make money off of it, and then no one will really know.
A lot of celebrity makeup brands not naming themselves after themselves because they want what they're doing is creating a brand, getting the hype, and then they'll be selling it, and then so that brand can then live on. So like Selena Gomez's makeup is called Rare. It's like
Mhm.
it's linked to her because it's one of her songs or her album, but
Yeah.
it's not Gomez Beauty, so she can sell it whenever she likes, and that brand can still live on.
Yeah.
Give
I think
Beauty, a lot of them, one size.
her, I mean, I always wanted, I wish I could know all of the analytics of how much of everything is being sold because I'd be interested to see how much one size moves because it's always on the sale page.
It's also really expensive.
Mm,
Not really expensive,
yeah.
but like for what it kind of is. It's given like Patrick Tar, but like at a B grade.
Yes. Yes. But with like too cheeky of names, like
Yeah.
I I hate cutesy names. I would really controversial hot take. Stop naming your things. Just make it palette one. And if it looks pretty, I'll buy it. But I don't need like some kind of mystical thing going on behind every name and everything. I don't care. I was like, is that a pretty shade I would like to wear? Most of the time, I don't know the names of the eyeshadows I'm using. I just simply don't care that much. I'll be like, it's a brown one. And on top of that, I'm putting this pink sparkly one.
Yeah, and I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and so that's it.
I remember back in the day when like YouTubers and influencers would come out with like brand collabs and they'll sit and do a whole like 40-minute long video and they'd be going through every individual shade, being like, this is this, I've named this one because this reason, and you're just there
Yeah.
like crying their eyes out of these different shades. And you're just like, what?
It's like embarrassing. Like everything that's happened in like YouTube beauty space is like embarrassing. Just all of it. And I'm concluding myself in that. Like I'm embarrassing. It's all embarrassing.
Yeah, it really is. When we think about it, this whole kind of crazy world that it is all over some pigment suspended in some formulas,
Yep. That's all this is.
stuff that we wash off every single day.
Every day. And we need so much of it, apparently.
Honestly, I literally when I was putting my makeup on today, and I was like going through bits, and I don't have that much, but I was like, I've got too many of these things. I've got too much of this. Like, what's going on here?
I sometimes I do like start breaking out in hives watching people with really big makeup collections. I'm like, oh, I don't even know where like, I don't even know what you have. Like that's bananas to me. I can't do it. It's not for
I,
me.
I was watching Lauren's video of her going through the benefit advent calendar, and behind her was just the whole wall, and I was literally just there like, How?
And she just downsized her makeup collection, which is also wild to think about too.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know. How do you, well, like, obviously, I know it's all organized, but how do you find anything? I'm just like, better you than me. I'm glad it's never
Yeah,
going to be me.
too many choices. I'd be so happy if someone just took away everything but one in each category. I'd be like, this is it. This is all I have. This is what I'm doing.
Literally. Because also, most of, like, for me, the other times, like, I have, like, three concealers on the go at the moment, and two of them, like, one's NARS, one's Huda, and one's Elf. And my favorite one's Elf. And I'm just like, well, what am I doing here then?
Yeah. Yeah. Why did I spend $80 on these other things if I could just have the elf one for 10?
Yeah. And the Huda one, like, the products just keep spitting out from the sides. I'm just like, well, it's not even made
Yeah.
well, so it's great.
Mm-mm. No, no, thank you.
Fine. Awesome. So yeah, I'll just go with it. Is more pigment better?
No, that's if actually incorrect. More pigment just means it's harder to work with, whether it's like a highly pigmented foundation, a highly pigmented eyeshadow. Like it's so much harder to use. And I think whenever people are getting into makeup, they hear people talk about pigmentation and they think they need the most pigmented everything. And it's like your life's gonna be so hard if you just start putting on the most pigmented everything. No, I like medium pigmented everything. Less pigment the better for me. I don't mind layering things up. That's fine. I like to take my time when I do my makeup. Like that's fine. It's all part of the thing. But I would say like I don't know what influencers started saying like highly pigmented is better, but we were wrong. They were wrong. I don't think so. What do you think?
Agree. I especially like I think people get the idea of you get more bang for your buck. If it's more pigmented, then you're not having to put as
Hmm.
much on. But when it comes to like things like blush as well, and everyone's like, oh my God, it's this super pigmented blush, like the rare beauty liquid blushes, the
Oh
like
yeah.
so many of the other ones. And I'm just like, and you're just putting a dab on and then you're screwed. I'm like,
And then the
how?
solution is like, we'll mix it in with something else. I was like, well, no, I want the thing to do what it's supposed to do without having to add a second thing in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, have to panic blend. Yeah, like yeah, having to like put
Yeah.
powder over the top of it. I'm like, well, what
What are
you're
we
making it
doing
hard for me
here?
to use this product. Yeah.
And I think like indie eyeshadows that have like incredibly strong pigments they're harder to use. And everyone you see people pack and blending. I don't like doing my makeup like that. I'm not saying that's the wrong way to do your makeup, but like I like to take a very fluffy brush and just like build and build and build instead
Yeah.
of like packing and being like, it's blue. Now what? Like that's how I feel when I use like really highly pigmented eyeshadow.
I also find that like I used to do the whole packing blending technique, but
Mm,
for me, it always would go patchy. Like wherever I packed it, it would stay
mhm.
there, and then I'm
Yeah.
trying to blend it out, and I'd still just have a patch of where I first put it. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
I
more of
think
like
high
a
pigment.
use my fingers kind of person now as much as well, and I'm like, can't do that with highly pigmented things either.
Yeah, the further I get into makeup, I'm like, if I just use my hands, it should work, right?
Like how far we go backwards now,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like I would actually like this to be so much easier than it has become for me.
that part. That part. We
Yeah.
go on to like sometimes I sit and watch like influencers stuff talking about like the nuances of this and blah 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 and all this stuff. And
Mm.
I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, can we just take a step back?
Yeah.
Can we just, like this little tiny nuance you're talking about, you'll notice on your face, I'm sure, but everyone else walking past you in the street is not going to notice that that shade might be slightly off or that blush color is
Yeah.
slightly like whatever. And like no one else is noticing that. So
Yeah.
why are you really like if you like it, just put it on. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately that's what everything leads to. Is if you like it, great. But pigment is not high pigment, not for me.
next one, luxury beauty lines, like the high-end luxury ones, them lacking in diverse like shades for things.
I mean, that's just it's factual. Like you all if you have eyes that work, you can see that they are not it's it's weird how sometimes in parts of the brand they'll be very inclusive, but not all parts. Like I think if I think of Gucci, which I think of the high-end like luxury brands is the brand that I think tries the most to make a shade range, at least in their foundations. But I don't think their deepest bronzer would work on their deepest foundation shade. And I'm like, of the person who would wear the deepest foundation shade, I'm like, okay, but then your range is incomplete with it. Like no one could come to your makeup counter and be like, I'm gonna do a full face of makeup with this if that is their like skin tone. And I've talked about it briefly on my channel, and it is like a touchy subject when you bring it out, especially as like a white person trying to like solve the problem, and I know I can't. But it's like the problem, I think what I've heard comes in is like when luxury brands do extend shade ranges, no one buys them. And then the argument is like, well, yeah, no one's buying them because the people who were excluded the first time are not going to buy from that brand anymore. So it's like, if you don't start that way, it's almost, there's no point in including it because those people won't buy it because they've already written you off, which I think is fair enough.
Yeah, no one wants to be an afterthought.
Exactly.
But I find it weird though, like these brands that have like one charging low, so clearly have loads of money, are the ones
Hmm.
not coming out. They're the ones that should be setting the standard, the industry standard.
Yeah.
You've got all the money, you are these designer fashion houses, people
Hmm.
are looking to you. You're the one setting the beauty standards and stuff, like on your
Hmm.
runways. How are you then not catering to everyone?
And they usually have models with deep, deep skin and models with like the whitest, most alabaster skin. And they always just shoot for like the straight middle. Like sometimes even in luxury brands, like I'm too fair for what they're all like they're offering too. So it's yeah, it's like they should be, but they're not. And it's like just a continuation of the way they've failed everyone in their history.
And also going back to what you're saying, like, yeah, like how can you come out of a foundation shade and then come out of bronzers and your bronzers don't go deep enough to like the foundation shades that you also currently make? Like the creative direction there, there's
Doesn't
something
make
missing,
sense.
right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Or like brands that have like blush shades that would absolutely work on deep skin tones, but then none of the rest of their shades, like nothing else that they have like is inclusive enough to include them. And I don't know. It is a shame because I think that like my favorite, I like having less stuff. So like having more expensive things that feel luxury to me is like I would rather have less and then have that kind of feeling. But I've also in reviewing luxury makeup, what people are looking for in luxury is also very different. So like what I'm looking for is not also what other people are looking for. So like people who have like if like a someone with really dark skin makes a luxury makeup brand, what does that look like for them and like the people that they are selling to? Because it probably won't look like what Burberry does either.
yeah. Next one. Has makeup become boring now that tutorials and trends are everywhere?
I don't think that makeup application, there are always going to be people who are doing stuff like way left of center. And I love that. Um, I as someone as a purveyor of boring makeup and someone who really enjoys boring makeup, I don't really mind that whenever the stuff comes out, it's like stuff that's very like what I consider to be beige makeup. I love that. It's like my favorite kind of thing. Uh, I I think that this is a space. I think that this always is going to leave space for indie brands. And I think that's good because indie brands are always going to make things that the mainstream brands aren't. And the mainstream brands are always going to be really late on picking up on whatever trends those brands are setting. So I don't think makeup has gotten boring like the brands that are making it. But I think what has happened is the brands all realize that making boring makeup is going to make them the most money. And I think that is why we're not seeing brands innovate color or formulas anymore because they're like, well, no one in our market's going to buy that. I think that's what happened to Pat McGrath. I've said that many times. I think it's like kind of what's happening to like Fenty, although, I don't know. It's everyone just shooting like straight for the middle because that's what makes them the most money.
You've got like Natasha Denona bringing out another neutral palette.
Nah, I need a warm. I still am not over it. Like, I can't believe that. I can't believe so many people said that's a great name. Put it on the label.
All the
It's
names she's done
shocking.
as well, like she's had some like decent names, and then that you're just like, what?
Yeah, I think that most people were right. Like in my comment section when I talked about that, they're like, I want a warm would have been so much better. And I was like, yes, but also it could have just been, I need a nude warm edition, which I think keeping it under I need a nude would have been the smarter thing. And like
Yeah,
just talking about the undertones to be expected in it would have been better. But
I need a
who am
warm
I?
nude.
There you go. Yes. I don't know. Everyone except for that brand has come up with a better name than that the brand came up with.
Yeah, literally, and none of us are being paid by that brand.
No, fuck this brand.
Another one. Has social media created a culture of gluttony when it comes to makeup?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think we're in the aftermath of it and we're trying to pick up the pieces of it. But I think what happened in the mid 2010s to the early 2020s has left such a scar on what people are doing that like I think a lot of people still live in the space where they feel like they need to buy all the makeup. But I also think that consciously those people know that they don't and they won't use it. And I think that people are really grappling with like the history of their purchasing in makeup to like their more recent history of purchases. And they don't, I think psychologically people don't know what to do with that. And also like TikTok is basically doing what YouTube did 6 years ago. And so now all of the younger people are like following into this consumerism bit. And it's like so funny to watch the trends just be cyclical there. It's like if you would just come onto YouTube for like a second, you would see what happens on the other side of this because we're already there.
Yeah, the I was watching a live recently of I think Made by Mitchell when they were launching a new thing, and the live was just chaos. There was like pop-ups everywhere. There was music in the background. Keep doing giveaways of like coffee machines and stuff. As
Oh,
if like, you
oh,
had to order now and you'll be in for this like giveaway to win this like PS4 and stuff. And I'm like, this has got nothing to do with makeup or your brand at all. What's going on here? I was like, I feel like I'm being like assaulted like on my eyes.
and I bet the people who like watching those lives, if you told them about like QVC, they'd be like, "That's so lame." I'm like, "It's this. What you are doing on TikTok Live is the same thing that's happening over
Yeah,
there. It's the exact same thing, just not with grandma sweaters. That's all. That's the
literally.
only difference."
So not Grandma Sweaters and Tarte. It's Made by
Yeah.
Mitchell and P. Louise.
Or it's Tati Westbrook selling you God knows what. I don't know if you've ever caught one of her lives. They're bananas.
Oh God, no. I saw her video the other day. She's like, I'm sober and here's my story. I'm like, who cares? And are we surprised? You're always going on about these weird like diet habits you've got going on. Like, we're not
Yeah.
surprised you're sober. Like,
Yeah, that's not I don't that doesn't come as a revelation to me at least.
no, I was like, the title gives it enough away. I don't need to watch this thanks very much. Like, oh
I
God.
I I haven't watched one of her videos in a very long time. So
Yeah, yeah, same. I think the other side of the gluttony thing as well is people like Meredith and that whole like whole tube of
using
foundation. You're
too
gonna
much, yeah.
slap that on.
Does she still do that?
I don't know because I don't really see her stuff around
Yeah,
anymore. But I still see videos of people sat in their car and they're like squeezing the whole tube out. And I know it's like rage bait content,
yeah.
but that one was a thing and it did become a trend for a while. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
how much money do you people have that you're using? Even if it's a cheap drugstore foundation, that's £10 a go, just slapping it
Yeah,
all
that's
on.
expensive. I Yeah. I at that I don't see a lot of overuse on my end, but I watch my TikTok is not beauty TikTok. Like what I'm looking for on TikTok out of it is not that. I don't try to make content around what's happening on TikTok either, so it's not relevant to
Yeah,
me. So but I could see that, but I think most people, including young people, know that like that'd be a very big waste for them, especially when their money means a lot more to them than someone like Meredith Duxbury. Is that her
yeah.
last name? Duxbury? I don't remember.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. But I just found that when that was the whole thing, what like came around and that she blew up from it, I'm just like, but for why though? Like, I understand that we're like she's blown up because it's so stupid, and she was doing those more videos, like being like, no, this is really what I do. Like, this is, and it's just like, this is like 2016, 2014 makeup to the extreme. Like the triangles under your eyes when you're using half a tube of concealer each
Mm-hmm.
time. Like, but why? Because like you said, people buying the makeup aren't using it that way. And if they are,
Right.
then it's not for the consumers. And I know it's like rage bait, but then you'd think that wouldn't propel someone into like fame and stuff. And like,
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know, would you trust their reviews at all if they are not using it the way you would intend to use it? Like
yeah,
her reviews mean nothing to me because I don't do makeup like she does makeup. And
no,
I will say I did really appreciate Bobby Brown just kind of like coming out of the woodwork to make a TikTok to be like, well, that's a new application method I've never seen. She was so flat with her delivery. It was so funny. And I feel like I don't feel great things about Bobby Brown, her either, but like it was very funny. It was like weird drama that was just very
yeah.
amusing.
Yeah, yeah. Bobby Brown's new makeup line is an
Very
interesting
crunchy
one.
granola. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's very like I don't know who I'm making makeup for, really. Like I know it's really meant to be aimed at all like the I guess like
Mature.
mature people, but
Yeah.
even then, like a lot of it just feels like Vaseline with some pigment. And I'm just like,
I think the things outside of the tubs, like the other stuff, I've heard that's really good. I've anything that comes in one of those giant jars, I've heard that like maybe not that. I don't really understand, but my skin's not dry, and I it just seems like people with very, very dry skin would get on with that, but it's
yeah.
not me.
But you think someone who's gone from making Bobby Brown that like after she led brand to
Mm.
the brand she's got now that I can't think of the name. I'm just like,
Jones Road.
oh yeah, Jones Road. They're just so completely different. You're just like,
Yeah.
wow, like how the mighty have fallen almost. Like,
Well, I I think Bobby Brown didn't like the way that the brand was going. If this is like something I heard in passing. I don't know that it's exactly true, but whenever like whoever, I don't know if it's an Estee Lauder brand now, but they were like trying to force her to make contours when contouring was becoming popular in like 2016 or whatever, and she was like, people don't need to do that, which is like true. So and then I think she was just like, I don't have control over this anymore. I'm gonna leave, and made her own brand.
Yeah, and now they're doing really crappy Powerpuff Girl collaborations and stuff.
Yeah, that's so weird. It is weird. I don't understand like the Asian market and how that happens. I would love to know more about that. I would love to hear it. If someone knows of a good thing, send it my way. I like would love to learn about that.
Yeah, yeah. I sometimes forget about that. Like even sometimes when you see the weird things Mac does and stuff like
Mhm.
that, you're like, oh, like is this for like not a UK, Europe,
Yeah,
US
not
based
Western.
audience? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're just sat there like, right, but still, like,
It's like what is Bobby Brown to that market? If this is like it seems very strange to everyone in the Western market that
yeah.
also I love whenever like those accounts will post about like an Asian release exclusive and I'm like, well now I kind of want it and now I can't get it. So
Or when it's like Maybelline or one of those kind of brands, and like they'll
mm,
release something for like a West Asian audience, and it's like
mm.
really bad shade range, and then
Yeah.
and then you have like hopefully they'll like add more of a shade range when it comes out over here, and it just never comes out anywhere else, and you're
No.
just like,
No.
okay,
Yeah.
thanks for that. Do you think the days of brand hero products are gone?
I don't. I think that something that gets really lost in the conversations that happen on the internet is that there are still people who go to the counters to learn how to apply makeup and learn about makeup. And that gives the opportunity of those counter people to sell them the hero product. And oftentimes the hero product from a brand is very good anyway. I think we just stop talking about those kinds of things because we think it's implicit that people know about that. It's like we don't need to tell you about the Bobbi Brown vitamin enriched face base because everyone knows. We don't need to tell you about MAC lip liners because everyone knows that's the industry standard. It's like we just don't talk about that stuff anymore. But I think it is, I think we just all assume that we all know all of the things that we know about the internet makeup culture. And it's like there is a whole consumer base that we are not even discussing that will never see what I'm saying to know that maybe there's another option for them.
Yeah, yeah, true. And you worked it on the counter as well, haven't you? Like, or
I
not
worked at
counter, but
Sephora.
yeah,
Yeah, but like you do learn about like hero products and stuff and like how to like most of the time that's like what you have the most knowledge of because I worked at Sephora. I didn't know everything about every product, but if someone asked about a brand, I'm telling them about the hero product unless I like knew if that's like a brand that I like know a lot about
yeah,
otherwise.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't I always think that's such a shame. I try my best to like talk as if not everyone knows, but then I also feel like people who always are watching beauty content think that I sound stupid when I'm like, okay, but like here we go. Here's this thing we all know, but we have to talk about it again.
I guess it also falls into that idea as well, because like I feel like again before the internet, people would buy their whole face from one brand. Like people would be very
Hmm.
brand loyal, and again, internet culture, I guess people aren't as brand loyal. But again, people
Yeah.
shopping in person probably are
Well,
more likely
people
to
are
be.
brand loyal and they will let me know if I say something about their favorite brand. They were gonna let you know. I think people are less proud to be brand loyal than they once were, but I think people have their favorites and will come to bat for them whenever someone is saying something that they don't like about it.
Is there a specific brand that you're like not gonna, or that is a bit touchy like, on that?
Anytime I've talked about Pat McGrath, there's some stan trying to defend the brand. I think people conflate, especially whenever there's a face, a name to the brand, with what I'm saying is like a direct insult on that person. like they think I'm insulting that person. It's like they're not the only one who works at that brand, and like they don't really have the final say. Like I don't. I think we think about brands wrong. Like me talking about a brand isn't me insulting a person unless that person did formulate it and do all of the marketing for it. Like I don't think that's really true. Danessa Myricks is another brand that comes to mind whenever I say things because people are very into her artistry. And I do think what Danessa Myricks does is cool from a point, but I also don't think her makeup is very like user friendly for people who don't know what they're doing. Yeah, the people come at bat for her. Sometimes the luxury brands too. People will be like very like Chanel. People are like, you don't like Chanel. And I'm like, well, maybe if it wasn't ugly this season, I would be more interested, but it's It's interesting. I also think that if I talk about drugstore, people are very defensive about that too. But I think that's more of like that if that's all they can afford. And like I could see being defensive about like me being very casual about dismissing a drugstore product too. So I get it, but I also think that like they are just brands. They are not people. In fact, I am a person, but that's a brand actually.
Yeah, yeah. And I understand it, I guess, like when you're saying about like the brands that are named after people, but also yeah, like you said, you have to realize that that person isn't running everything and isn't doing anything. And the bigger the
Hmm.
brand gets, the less they're actually probably doing. And
Yeah.
a lot of those brands have been like sold off by so like they only own smaller percentages nowadays than anything.
Hmm.
Like I was looking at the other day, and like Charlotte Tilbury actually sold off majority of her company. Like other people own it now. She's got like a minority in it and stuff like that. So it's like,
Is it private investors or is it like I'm just curious because like I think if she was sold to like Estee Lauder or something, we would see a very sharp
yeah,
decline very quickly. Listen,
it's
listen, I'm not gonna come defense for Charlotte Tilbury's brand, okay? But like I like a lot of the stuff. Okay, it works for me.
it's a Spanish is Pug
Okay.
Puig snaps up Charlotte like buys majority stakes in Charlotte Tilbury. But yeah, it was a Spanish.
Yeah, like
They own like Paco Rabanne and Caroline Herrera. They own like majority stakes in the brand now as well. So it's like she's
yeah,
still like at the top, but
hmm,
you know,
she's the face of it, right? And
yeah,
like Pat McGrath doesn't own the majority of her brand anymore either, which is like I think a big reason why I've not been as interested in it. Like I think that plays a lot of a role, and I think a lot of people don't talk or think about that. They're like, "No, you're insulting this person." It's like I don't know. I don't think like if I said to Natasha Denona, like your palette name is stupid, she would be like, "Well, it had to make it through this person and this person and this person and this person." Like it doesn't matter. It's fine.
yeah, literally. I mean, like I feel like the only kind of brand I can think of off the top of my head, which would be more like that, is something like Lisa Eldridge, where I know that she
Mm.
literally formulates and does pretty much everything.
People will come to bat for that brand. I forgot, but I haven't reviewed much Lisa yet.
Yeah.
And the one thing I did a full review on, it was a very favorable review. But if I even say like, I don't know about this, people will come, people will be like, but it's Lisa. And I'm like, I don't know her.
But I feel like Lisa's at the place where Charlotte was like 10, 12 years ago, where because everyone adores the brand or everyone loves it, everyone's got those like I remember at Charlotte Tilbury, like back in the day when you had like the Zoellas and everyone would
Mm-hmm.
use the setting powder constantly, and like everyone, no one said anything bad about Charlotte Tilbury products at all, like to the point where like it felt like everyone was being paid to talk about Charlotte Tilbury, but no one was
Mm-hmm.
disclosing it. It feels a bit like that with Lisa a little bit now, where everyone seems to love all of Lisa's stuff. So like if you're that one person that says you don't really
The,
like it, then people really come down on you because it's like it's an
yeah.
adored brand by all.
I think a good small brand, I don't know that you guys have access to it over there, but it phytosurgeons, which I like a lot of what they do, but there are also some things from phytosurgeons I haven't enjoyed. And people will like especially I think especially with like a very small brand like that, people are gonna come at they're gonna be like, but they're an indie brand. And I'm like, I get it, but I'm also allowed to not like a product that an indie brand releases too.
And like you always say in your videos, like you might not like something for one reason, someone else
Yeah.
might like it for those reasons. Like
Right.
I'm giving my review and I don't like it for X, Y, Z reasons, but that might be the reason you like it.
Yeah.
Like it's just not that deep. Like we were saying earlier,
It's yeah, it's like it's not personal. It's not personal to you if you happen to like the product, you know.
yeah, literally. And that's it for this month's episode. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I enjoyed it so much. I adore talking to Tom. They are such a lovely person and just so easy to get on with. Make sure you check out their YouTube channel and follow them on Instagram as well. Their content is really great. If you like this kind of sassy, in-depth kind of conversations around makeup, around beauty, but also not about pushing you to buy products and things, then really do check them out. They upload all the time and it's great stuff. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and check back next month for the part 2 of this conversation. See you then. Bye.